Alright, so now let's go ahead and implement this dispatcher, and for that what I'm just going to have here is like let's keep this in its own folder, right? So let me just collapse this everything, and so what I'll just have here is like add new folder, which is going to be dispatcher. Right, so in here I'm just going to create this outbox, let's say call this outbox message dispatcher, add new class, outbox message dispatcher, right? And this is where we are going to inherit this background service. Let me unpin from here, right? And let's take this background service, let's inherit this, let's implement this one, and I will just say okay. And this is where you are going to execute this task, right? And first of all, let's go ahead and implement this like constructor over here, which we are going to need here, and therein we are going to need that iService provider, and let's call this as service provider, and let's have iLogger as well, and let's have this outbox message dispatcher, and let's call this as logger, right? And let's take this, and in here I'll just say service provider equals service provider, and likewise logger is going to be like logger. Now you just right click on this and get that field created, and that's what we are just going to have here, like the set pattern which we have been doing so far, right? So now here the main thing, like the abstract class which we are implementing here, is going to come here, right? So idea behind this, it is going to check into that our pending messages, and then it is going to mark this as processed, and that is what it is going to do here, right? And so let's go ahead and do that first of all, and let me just explain then, right? So I'll just delete this. So I'll just say while, let's take that stopping token, right? Because is cancellation requested till that time you keep on checking that one, right? And I'm just going to have like var db context, and I'm going to use this scope dot from that service provider, not like this scope. I am going to have like okay, so we need to have this first of all request for the scope as well, right? So for that, let's take that under using scope itself and utilize this service provider to create the scope, right? And then use this scope to get the service provider and get the required service, and this, in this case, required service is going to be order context, right? And that's what it is. So once we have this context with us, like we can just check for the pending messages, like pending messages, and here I'm just going to await that, right? And for the db context, right? And in that outbox messages, of course, like, and let's apply this conditioning over here, right? So how it should be like dot where, and let's do the filtering on top of that, x goes to x, and dot is processed, right? If it's not processed, like let's check for the null, if there is anything which is of null, right? Then order by, also maintain that ordering, and here I'm just going to order by, right? And in here I'm just going to say something like this, right? X goes to X dot occurred on, and then dot take, let's say how many records you want to take. I would be fine with, let's say I accidentally clicked insert button, looks like, and just take this off. So let's take some 20 records. Oops, looks like I'm accidentally clicking this. Yeah, so that is where now to list async. So, and here you can just pass in the stopping token as well, right? So this is it. Like now inside we are going to check in that each message, right, in the pending messages section, right? So I'll just loop over, let's say where message in pending messages, and in here I'm just going to try and let's say where dynamic data, because here it's going to be JSON, we are going to use that JSON convert and convert to deserialize object and mark this as dynamic itself, and then whatever message it is coming from the content piece, right? So this is what we are actually deserializing, and then we are actually going to say where order created event equals, let's say JSON convert dot deserialize object, and inside we are just going to mark this into something like order created event, which we order created event and then message dot content, right? So, and don't worry about that, like order created event will be creating that event, that one. I just wanted to show you this example, like you can do this dynamic as well, and then you can pass in the dynamic data, and the other way is like creating that created event, right? I'll just comment this piece, or you can this is basically not needed, and you can stick with this static typing itself, right? And then once we have this, then what we can do this is like await publish endpoint, and looks like we have not requested for publish endpoint, so I'm just going to request for that as well. So I'll just take where publish endpoint equals scope dot service provider dot get required service, and from I would request for I publish endpoint. Makes sense? Now what we are just going to do here is we are going to publish that, right? And where publish endpoint dot publish, and this is what we are just going to do that order created event, right? Now here I will be just marking that message dot processed on, right? And this piece I'm just going to say that date time dot UTC now. So that is fine. So now just for the logging piece, I'll just say logger dot log information, and here I will just say published, outbox message. I would say, let's say ID or ID by being like message dot ID, right? So this will be equated there, right? And now into the catch section we can also have catch exception, and in this exception handling, what we are just going to say that, let's say logger dot log error, and inside we can just say exception, we can publish that, and we can just say that failed to publish outbox message, and here we can pass in that ID, and then we can just say that message dot ID, right? This is done. Now what else? Like after for each statement, right, we can simply use our DB context to save these changes, right? And of course, while saving that, we can also pass in this stopping token, and that is fine. And we can delay this for some time. Let's say await task dot delay, let's say 5000, and stopping token. So what we have done here is like the idea behind this, first of all, like obviously we are utilizing this background service. Like if you just see here, right, so this is the message dispatcher which is using our background worker that implements the outbox pattern, right? And it takes messages messages stored in your database outbox messages table, and publishes them to the RabbitMQ from this publish endpoint, which is doing here. And this is obviously deserializing and publishing in the order created event, and of course this order created event we are going to create that one. So this is the main context of that one, like, and this is where, right, it makes sure like it is going to be more reliable. Because why this pattern matters is because it ensures reliability, which means like outbox patterns ensures that your DB transaction, example, let's say inserting an order and your event publication are consistent. So no duplication and no order saved but event lost problem will ever appear. And this is also going to make sure that it is resilient. Like if RabbitMQ is down temporarily, the message stays in DB until it's published successfully. So that is the main funda of this one. And of course here we can extend this till idempotency. Like we are already using this one, right, with the correlation ID index on our on model creating to make sure duplicates are never published, right? So that is what it is already taken care. Now the fact of the matter is, now let's go ahead and create this order created event in infrastructure into the next video itself.